at the White House. While the two leaders have met multiple times in the past, this one was critical because remember, it comes amid the growing number of Americans and Israelis questioning the Iran war, and it comes right ahead of the Israeli general elections in October this year and the US midterms in November. We get you more on this up ahead. We also get you more from India, where the Parliament passed the Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Amendment Bill, or the Anti-Paper Leak Bill, as it is popularly called, after a heated debate. The leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, has hit out at the government for its handling of the CJP protests, while the Modi government has clarified its stance over the issue. Details up ahead, but first let's talk about what has been happening with the US and Israel. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has met US President Donald Trump once again at a time when peace in West Asia remains elusive. Netanyahu's visit, remember, also overlapped with his attendance at Senator Lindsey Graham's funeral. Now, the Israeli leader called his meeting with Trump one of the best yet, while Trump said that Bibi cannot tell him what to do with Iran's Pickaxe Mountain. This was, remember, the first face-to-face meeting between Trump and Bibi since the US and Israeli joint strikes against Iran in February. But outside the meeting, protests unfolded in not one but two different groups. A multi-faith gathering demonstrated Netanyahu's America visit. On the other hand, Jewish Americans and other citizens lashed out at the Israeli Prime Minister for being a caught war criminal.
Today we had a multi-faith, nonviolent witness of Jewish and Christian and Muslim and groups here in D.C. We're here to resist the architect of war, Benjamin Netanyahu, who is in D.C. meeting with our president once again.
He claims that all Jews support his movement and his actions, his crimes, and he misuses our religion and our identity to justify all these criminal actions. We say no. All of this, all that Israel stands for, this genocide in Gaza, this murder in the West Bank, this whole occupation of 78 years in Palestine, all of this is ridiculous. All of this is criminal.
While Netanyahu was in America, protests also broke out back home. Remember, hundreds stepped out in Tel Aviv, slamming the Israeli settler violence in the occupied West Bank. Israeli citizens said the violent instances endanger Palestinians and Israelis as well.
The reason I'm here today is because what we've seen coming out of the West Bank just the past week, but the past months and years is horrifying, it's immoral, and we believe that it is endangering not only Palestinians who are witnessing ethnic cleansing and the evacuation of their homes, but it's also endangering all of us.
And joining me tonight on Race to Power is Colonel David DeRoche. He is a professor at Thayer Marshall Institute and the former Deputy Director for Peacekeeping in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. He's joining us live from Maryland, United States. Colonel DeRoche, good evening. Welcome to WION. Many are of the opinion, Colonel, that this meeting that took place between Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu reflected more of the conflicts that have been happening between the two leaders than their unity on the Iran war. Are you also of the same opinion?
Not entirely. I mean, it's important to bear in mind this was not a scheduled meeting. This wasn't a summit. Netanyahu came to Washington for Senator Lindsey Graham's funeral. So you don't really have the normal agenda program of work that you would have with the head of state visit. There is some division, though, and I think it reflects a couple of factors. The first is Israel and the United States have similar tactical and operational goals, which is the destruction of Iran's ability to attack neighbors. But Israel wants to see they view the Iranian regime as an existential threat. They want military operations to continue until the Iranian regime is out of power. President Trump views it as a regional concern. He wants to remove their offensive capabilities, but then let economic measures lead to the Iranians overthrowing the regime on their own, which he views as both less costly and more lasting. So there is some strategic divergence, but I think that there's also a lot of agreement on the tactics and the operations and the short-term objectives.
You know, Colonel Dirosh, this meeting came at a critical time because while, you know, you say that there's a lot of convergence and there are some divergences as well, it comes at a time when there are a growing number of Americans as well as Israelis that are questioning the war against Iran. And it also comes right ahead of the US midterms in November, and before that in October, the Israeli general elections. And therefore, of course, the two leaders will have a lot of high stakes involved in this particular meeting.
Yeah, that's right. The stakes are higher for Netanyahu. I mean, Netanyahu is the prime minister of a unitary government. So if he loses the election, he's out of office. And of course, he personally faces criminal charges that are delayed because of his immunity as the head of government. So if he's not head of government, his stakes are much higher. He also, I think, maybe on a timeline, he's suffered from prostate cancer. I'm not sure, you know, that's one of those things that you can live with for 20 years or you can die in 20 days. So we're not sure of that. President Trump, on the other hand, he will remain president. If he loses both houses of Congress, there probably will be acts of impeachment filed against him if the Democrats take control of the House of Representatives, but it's unlikely that he will be removed from office in the Senate. So that will just be a diversion, unpleasant, but not as big as it is for him. And I think President Trump may have decided that the damage for the midterms is already done. I think he is either at or approaching a point where he may just say, okay, what's happened has happened. And I think congressional Republicans feel that he's past this point, that he's just said, okay, the elections, you know, are going to be what they're going to be. Let's focus on this problem. It's also important to note when you look at the protesters in Israel or in the United States, there's a broad range of issues that people protest on. So in your package, you know, the ultra-Orthodox Jews, the guys with the hats and all that you see now on the screen, they have religious objections to the very existence of Israel. They view the establishment of a secular state of Israel as blasphemy. You have some people who are protesting against policy in the West Bank. You have some people who are protesting against the war in Iran. But I think that and some people protesting against the war in Lebanon. But overall, I think, at least in Israel, there is a general recognition that Iran is an enemy that has to be confronted in one way or another. I think that people protesting against that are a very, very small group of the Israeli population.
Right. So, of course, we'll have to wait and see how this moves forward. Both, you know, Donald Trump and, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu are looking ahead for their respective elections. And as you said, the stakes are much higher for Prime Minister Netanyahu. I'll leave it there. Colonel Dirosh, thanks very much for joining us on WION and sharing your perspective.
Thank you. It's an honor.
With that, let's shift our focus now to India. The lower house of the Indian Parliament has passed amendments to the 2024 Anti-Paper League Bill. 10 hours of high-octane debate and repeated adjournments later, the bill was passed via voice vote. Now, the proposed legislation will not move to the upper house, that's the Rajya Sabha.
विधेयक को पारित किया जाए, जो सदस्य इसके पक्ष में हाँ गए, जो सदस्य विरोध में ना गए, मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में प्रस्ताव स्वीकृत हुआ और विधेयक पारित हुआ.
Leading up to the vote, a fiery war of words played out in the Lok Sabha as the leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi launched a scathing attack on the government. His remarks on police action during the 20th July student protest prompted a sharp rebuttal from the ruling party. Rahul Gandhi began his speech by explaining three categories of people, but as soon as he mentioned one category, the opposition lawmakers started raising objections and demanded the speaker to expunge that particular word. Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju said that the word is unparliamentary and that Rahul should not use it in his remarks.
Let's be precise. It is unparliamentary for me to use that word against another member of parliament. I have not used that word against anybody. I have just stated that this category exists. Sir, again they are going.
The Congress MP then shifted his focus on the education system. He claimed that the education system has been captured by RSS and that Dharmendra Pradhan was just the face of that system.
Dharmendra Pradhan is a symbol. Your real enemy is the RSS. Keep it in mind. They are the people who are not letting you be students. They are the people who want you to be andhbhakts.
Rahul also launched a sharp verbal attack on the Union Home Minister Amit Shah. He said that it was Amit Shah who had ordered the police to shoot students and use pellet guns against them.
Sir, the Home Minister authorized the shooting of our students, sir. He put pellets into the blood of our students. He ordered the students of India to be shot.
Responding to this, the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, Kiran Rijiju, asked Rahul Gandhi to talk responsibly and provide facts about his charge or apologize.
How can he say that somebody ordered firing? You can make statement outside in the house. You cannot make that statement. It is a serious allegation. It is a breach of his own position and privilege. This is not proper.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Home Minister Amit Shah did not participate in this debate. Both leaders remained absent from the parliament throughout the two-day debate on the anti-paper league bill. Rahul Gandhi has alleged that he was not allowed to speak in the parliament and therefore he addressed a press conference on the issue where he reiterated his remarks on Amit Shah and demanded his resignation. Gen Z's successful protests at Jantar Mantar has infused Generation Alpha with confidence now. They might not have a voting right at the moment, but Generation Alpha is rising to demand better infrastructure and stakeholders at their schools. Now, this is what happened in the Fatehpur district, which is located between the major cities of Kanpur and Prayagraj. Students expressed their dissent over lack of fans, desks and benches, poor drinking water, dirty toilets and availability and quality of the midday meal. In fact, some students accused the principal of issuing threats to fail them for the participation in these protests. However, the school administration has denied these accusations. Following the protest, the district education officials stepped in to hold talks with the students. Protests were called off after the officials gave written assurances on the students' demands. Remember, a few days ago, schoolgirls staged protests over the lack of teachers in Rajasthan. Students say that the faculty is not available for several subjects. They urged authorities to fill the vacancies so that regular classes can resume. The students' protest has drawn attention to the need of teachers in government-run schools. In fact, owing to the success of the youth-led movements, protesting farmers in Karnataka have now sought their support. They are protesting, remember, against a proposed township project since the last 500 days. Farmers were seen distributing pamphlets calling for Gen Z to join the movement and raise awareness about the issue. Farmers have expressed concerns over plans to develop an AI city and data centers on the proposed land, saying that such projects would require large amounts of water. As India's development and growth remains aspirational, many of the country's roads and bridges have come under the spotlight for the quality of their construction. In several instances this year alone, remember, newly completed projects have been damaged within days of their inauguration. Now, the most recent case is from the hill station of Dehradun, where there is now a big gaping hole at the beginning of the bridge leading up to Paonta Sahib. The bridge was inaugurated on the 12th of July this year, and a part of it collapsed within 17 days. The project is worth 16 crore rupees. A day before that, on the 27th of July, another case made headlines from the state of Uttar Pradesh. Several big cracks emerged in the Lucknow-Kanpur elevated expressway just 12 days after it was inaugurated. Now, the expressway, remember, was an ambitious project worth 4,200 crore rupees. It was inaugurated on the 13th of July by UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath along with India's Union Ministers Rajnath Singh and Nitin Gadkari. In yet another case from Uttar Pradesh, a bridge in Mirzapur split into two barely 15 days after its inauguration. This incident occurred in early April this year. The bridge connected nearby villages and towns to a religious site, with many commuters and devotees facing disruptions after it collapsed. In February this year, a bridge collapsed in Bihar's Gopalganj area. This incident took place on the 28th of February while it was still under construction. The bridge, remember, was being built over the Gogari River. These are just a few cases from 2026 so far. Many other instances have occurred in the past few years where new projects have fallen apart within days of their completion. Now, the recurring incidents raise questions on the quality of infrastructure being built and the lack of stringent measures to stop this from happening across different cities and states in India. Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is witnessing bloodshed amid continuous protests. Over 30 people have been killed in just the last 48 hours. When Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif was asked about the atrocities, he ruled out dialogue and called the protesters enemies of the state. Listen in.
Oh my God!
The unrest marks the latest escalation in months-long display of dissent by the locals of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Pakistani authorities have tried to ban, restrict and suppress the protests. But the crackdown has further stoked public anger. Sounds of gunshots are repeatedly ringing on the streets of Mirpur and Rawalakot. The Awami Action Committee says 67 people were killed between 5th of June and 28th of July. The organization is leading the wave of protests and sit-ins across Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. According to Awami Action Committee, Rawalakot is under a complete blackout. Electricity and communication remain blocked as shelling and gunfire by Pakistani forces continues. Pakistan has been trying to push through election in the POK region amid restrictions and killings. The Pakistani police opened fire at the protesters during the first phase of polling, allegedly killing several people. Taking a note of the police brutality, Amnesty International has now called on Pakistan to lift the blackout. In a statement, Amnesty International's acting regional director for South Asia, Isabel Lassie, said that the reports from Rawalakot are consistent with Pakistan's long history of unlawful violence against protesters. She also said that the ongoing internet and mobile shutdown is making it difficult to independently verify what is happening on the ground. The Awami Action Committee has openly rejected Pakistan's official description of the region. The organization described POK as neither independent nor a disputed territory. They call it an occupied territory. Shifting our focus now, Russia has issued an international wanted notice for Telegram founder Pavel Durov, accusing him of complicity in terrorism over content hosted on the messaging platform. The move, remember, marks a major escalation in Moscow's long-running dispute with Telegram as Russia continues to tighten its control over online communications. Russia's Federal Security Service, or the FSB, has announced that Pavel Durov had been placed on an international wanted list. In fact, the agency claims that Durov has failed to remove Telegram channels, chats and bots, which are used by Ukrainian intelligence agencies and organizations that Moscow describes as extremist. The FSB alleges that these platforms have been used to plan terror attacks and cybercrimes inside Russia that have caused civilian casualties. Russia's investigative committee also said that it is examining cases involving the recruitment of teenagers to carry out sabotage and terrorist operations through a Telegram chatbot called Davnichik, which is also known as Leo. Telegram responded to this announcement by posting an image of Durov making an obscene gesture on its official X account. Durov, remember, who lives in Dubai and holds French and UAE passports, has described the case as politically motivated. He said that Russian authorities were looking for a pretext to further restrict access to Telegram inside the country. Telegram remains one of Russia's most widely used messaging platforms. Despite years of clashes between Durov and the Kremlin, remember, Russia's blocked Telegram between 2018 and 2020 before lifting the ban without any explanation. Today, many Russians can only access the app through VPN services, even as Kremlin and Russian government agencies continue to use Telegram for official communication. The platform has also become a key channel for officials, soldiers and military bloggers on both sides of the Russia-Ukraine war. The U.S. Senate has confirmed Jay Clayton as the Director of National Intelligence. This was confirmed by a 51-47 vote, largely along party lines. He's now the permanent head of the U.S. intelligence community. Clayton now officially succeeds Bill Pult. The confirmation followed weeks of delay. President Trump postponed Clayton's hearing to keep the acting director Pult in the job after Tulsi Gabbard resigned. Clayton previously served as the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. He also served as chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission during President Trump's first term. Supporters say his experience has prepared him for the role. Republicans backed Clayton's nomination. Senate Intelligence Committee Chairperson Tom Cotton called him a highly qualified nominee with experience in combating national security threats. Trump also praised Clayton, saying that he would do a spectacular job.
Mr. President.
Senator from Arkansas.
I speak today in support of Mr. Jay Clayton's nomination to be the next Director of National Intelligence. Earlier this month, Mr. Clayton appeared before the Senate Intelligence Committee, where he answered hundreds of written questions for the record and provided detailed testimony on his approach to serving in this new role.
On the other hand, Democrats raised concerns about Clayton. During his confirmation hearing, he declined to say that Joe Biden won the 2020 presidential election. He said the result had been certified but avoided a direct answer.
Mr. President, I speak today in opposition to the nomination of Jay Clayton to be Director of National Intelligence. He has repeated baseless conspiracy theories about American elections, refused to acknowledge who won the 2020 election.
Now, as Director of National Intelligence, Clayton will oversee the U.S. intelligence community, which coordinates 18 federal intelligence agencies. His appointment comes amid continued political debate over elections, intelligence, and national security. With that, let's quickly take a look at what else is making headlines from the political corridors of the world. As election fever kicks off in Brazil, the latest polls show incumbent President Lula da Silva leading against his political rival, Flavio Bolsonaro. The survey shows that in a runoff election scenario, Lula is positioned to get 49.2% of the votes, as opposed to 42.9% vote share for Bolsonaro. The presidential elections are scheduled to be held on the 4th of October this year, with a runoff on the 25th of the same month. In Venezuela, supporters of the opposition marched through the streets of capital Caracas, holding posters of the opposition leader Maria Corina Machado. The rally comes on the heels of political transition talks later this week and opposition supporters demanding representation. Machado remains in self-exile after she first left Venezuela in December last year and went into hiding. And Algeria gets its first woman parliament speaker. Khalida Boufedesh has become the fourth highest ranking official of the country in a moment that she called a major turning point for Algeria. Khalida has become a woman speaker at a time when women hold only 25 seats in the country's parliament as opposed to 118 seats back in 2017. With that, it's a wrap on Race to Power. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION The World is One.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs, busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION, World is One. Get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is WION The World is One. We are glad you're watching. Time now for Fine Print. American Joker on top stories. The IRGC releases video of what it claims launching strikes towards a US airbase and Central Command Center in Jordan. Iran says the attack is in response to acts of aggression by the United States. President Trump vows to hit back hard at Iran after it attacked US bases in Jordan as the West Asia war reignites and once again draws in Iran-backed groups. Dr. Anthony Fauci invokes the Fifth Amendment and declines to answer questions at a Republican-led Senate committee hearing on his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Pakistan's anti-cybercrime body has registered an FIR against a sister of incarcerated former Prime Minister Imran Khan for allegedly belittling the country's armed forces in her comments about last year's 4-day war with India. Rescuers battle through the tangled wreckage of a Japanese shopping mall searching for any trapped survivors after a big earthquake killed at least 13 people. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has written to all 211 member associations saying they will receive $40 million if they back the controversial plan to sell off stakes in the FIFA World Cup. China has reportedly opened a direct communication channel with Houthis to secure safe passage for its oil tankers through the Bab al-Mandeb Strait in the Red Sea. Beijing's outreach to the Houthis reflects its broader strategy to safeguard energy supplies from Saudi ports. This comes after Iran effectively restricted maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, according to Reuters, Beijing approached the Houthis seeking assurances that Chinese-operated or China-bound crude carriers will not be targeted. This will allow China to maintain imports of Saudi crude despite the escalating maritime restrictions. China is one of the first countries to engage directly with the Houthis following the group's announcement of a naval blockade. The talks reportedly centered on ensuring uninterrupted transit through the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, a strategic maritime choke point connecting the Red Sea with the Gulf of Aden. Though the Chinese Foreign Ministry did not confirm whether such negotiations have taken place, but said Beijing is closely monitoring the evolving security situation in the Red Sea. The report by Reuters cites Chinese officials are reportedly vetting every tanker individually with the Houthis before transiting through the strait to minimize risks. China is reportedly keeping Iranian authorities informed of the movements given the complex diplomatic balancing act Beijing is pursuing amid the widening regional conflict. The control over the Strait of Hormuz has been at the center of the war between the United States and Iran since late February. In the latest, Iran and Oman have exchanged competing proposals for the future management of the crucial waterway. Oman has reportedly suggested a joint regional mechanism that will see both countries control the strait in a 50-50 split. The proposal will see Iran control transit lanes on its side of the strait, while Oman will control lanes running along its coast. The proposal suggested voluntary fees from shipping vessels that will go to both countries. Oman's proposal appears to be modeled on an agreement governing the Strait of Malacca, which connects the Indian and Pacific Oceans. In that arrangement, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore ask ships transiting through the strait to voluntarily contribute to fund navigation. But Iran says it has rejected Oman's proposal based on its own national security concerns. Instead, Tehran has pitched a counter-proposal. This would see Iran manage shipping through its side of the strait, with Muscat managing part, but not all of the opposite lane. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister, Kazem Gharibabadi, has warned that the strait will remain closed if Oman rejects the plan. He also warned that the Strait of Hormuz could not return to pre-war arrangements when ships passed without paying any form of toll. The fees for using the strait remains one of the major concerns. Experts say the Strait of Malacca model raises about $70 million annually through its own voluntary fees system. However, that is a far cry from the $1 million per ship that has reportedly been proposed by Tehran as a service fee in the Strait of Hormuz. Remember, Tehran has maintained that the shipping fees will go towards reconstruction following widespread infrastructure damage caused by the US-Israel attacks. President Trump has issued a fresh warning to Iran. He says Washington is going to hit very hard in response to Tehran's overnight attacks on US assets in the Gulf. The escalation comes after a 3-day pause in the hostilities between the United States and Iran, and this time the fighting has spread across new fronts. These images released by Iranian state media are claimed to show missile launches targeting US air bases in Jordan. Iran has launched its first attacks on American forces since Washington paused its daily bombing campaign. Jordan's military has said its air defense systems intercepted 5 missiles fired from Iran before they could reach their targets. In retaliation, the US, working alongside Saudi Arabia, carried out joint airstrikes on positions linked to Iran-backed groups in eastern Iraq. The strikes have killed at least 20 members of Iraq's Popular Mobilization Forces and wounded 33 others. The US-Saudi strikes in eastern Iraq followed soon after. These are the images from Diyala province, where a base belonging to Iraq's Popular Mobilization Forces was hit. While US targeted one set of Iranian allies in the region, another Tehran-backed group, the Houthis, targeted a Saudi oil tanker in the Red Sea with ballistic missiles. Meanwhile, another close U.S. ally in the region, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, met Trump in Washington. This was his first in-person talks with the president since the Iranian war began. The meeting also comes as mediators wait to see whether President Trump will revive last month's interim agreement with Iran. The proposed deal is aimed at reducing tensions, although Israel is not a party to the agreement. For now, however, diplomacy is being overshadowed by military action, with missile exchanges, retaliatory strikes, and multiple regional actors now involved. The war appears to be expanding rather than easing. Tehran is quietly assembling a deadly new air defense shield designed to bring down American jets and helicopters. According to a new report, Iran is weeks away from receiving hundreds of advanced Chinese shoulder-launched missiles valued up to $70 million. Here's a report.
On a battlefield dominated by drones, fighter jets and precision strikes, sometimes the most dangerous weapon is the one a soldier can carry on his shoulder. It can hide in a building, move through terrain, appear without warning. Now, according to a Reuters report, Iran could soon have hundreds more. Sources say Tehran has signed a deal worth between $60 and $70 million for 300 to 400 Chinese-made man-portable air defense systems or manpads. The reported package includes the QW-12 and FN-16. The QW-12 and FN-16 are infrared guided shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles designed to attack low-flying aircraft, helicopters and drones. Its mobility allows small teams to rapidly reposition and create a dispersed air defense threat. The biggest battlefield advantage of the shoulder-fired missiles is mobility, allowing operators to shift positions quickly and complicate enemy air operations. According to sources cited by Reuters, initial deliveries could move by air from Urumqi in western China, transit through Pakistan and then reach Iran. The exact method of transfer remains unclear. The deal was signed with Zhongqing Baoshang International Investment, a Hong Kong-based company. China has called the report completely groundless. Pakistan has called claims of its involvement false, but the strategic implications remain. Iran's air defense network has been exposed during months of war. Fixed systems can be targeted, radar sites can be located, military bases can be struck. Portable missiles change that equation. In the ongoing war in West Asia, the terrifying accuracy of Iranian missiles have stunned America. One of the biggest strikes was on Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. It is the biggest US base in West Asia. This comes in the backdrop of reports saying Moscow and Beijing kept Iran in the fight without firing a shot. The pattern is indirect aid, technology, components, expertise. Iran's degraded air force and stretched defenses no longer match the scale of its strikes. Yet the attacks surprised US and Gulf allies. That gap points to external support. If Russia and China are behind the surge, the strategy is simple. Keep the US stretched, raise the cost of air operations, force Gulf partners to hedge, and do it all below the threshold that triggers a direct clash. Bureau Report WION World 1.
Let's now move to Japan. Emergency workers are in a race against time to reach people trapped beneath rubble after a powerful earthquake struck southern Japan. At least 13 people have been confirmed dead after the 7.1 magnitude earthquake hit the Kumamoto region. Rescue teams are searching through damaged buildings as aftershocks continue to shake the area, forcing around 300,000 people to evacuate. Images from the scene show widespread destruction with collapsed structures and debris scattered across affected areas. Police footage revealed the damage inside a shopping mall in Kumamoto, where rescuers searched through twisted wreckage for survivors. The mall was hit by a major explosion around 50 minutes after Tuesday's earthquake. 8 people were pulled from under the rubble of the partially collapsed building, but 3 of them later died. The operator of the damaged shopping mall has apologized following the explosion and said it is cooperating, or he is cooperating with authorities as